Welcome to the Old Fat Coach Podcast, featuring Russell Stutely, world leader pressure point fighting, national boxing coach, Cambodia, prepared to get not only your martial arts boxing world rocked, but your whole world too.
And a huge welcome to my good friend and Kata Bunkai expert, the one, the only, Sensei John Burke.
Well, John, thank you for joining. Sorry about the mix-up there, getting this started.
You're very welcome. Happy to be here.
Great stuff, great stuff. So, for those who don't know, I'll explain a little bit. John is probably, number one in Europe at least for Kata Bunkai, I would say. Definitely number one in the UK. It's been an expert on Kata Bunkai for many, many years. Travels all over the place teaching people of all different styles, whatever form, whatever pattern, whatever kata it is, whatever move it is. John will teach you what it's all about. I think I'm about right there, John?
Well, I couldn't possibly say that myself, so thank you for saying it. But then it's all about who I got it from, right?
Well, it doesn't matter what people show you at the beginning, you still got to put the work in and do the research yourself, have you not?
I think so. I think that's it's two, isn't it? You get both from the person you learn from, and then you've got to be able to do it anyway, haven't you? So it's no good learning all the theory if you then can't do it.
Absolutely. And I think we noted that, was it 21 years?
Yeah, more than that. I've been running the full-time centre 21 years, and that picture that I posted was from 21 years ago. But I'd met you a couple of years before that.
Yes.
Because we'd had the seminar over in Seaton, and I've been over to Gosport and up to yours. So yeah, but more than 21 years.
Yeah, it's closer to the quarter century than not, that's for sure.
Indeed.
And it's for me, it's been an absolute delight to see you go from just wanting to really know what Kata Bunkai was all about to being a leading light in Kata Bunkai. It's been fantastic to watch.
Oh, thank you. We're still not there, are we? We're still working on it. So we carry on.
Well, to me, that's the attitude of a true martial artist, that, you know, still carrying on, still wanting to learn, still willing to learn, rather than some people who have this attitude of, "Oh, I already know it." And with you, it's so refreshing that you're always looking to learn, always looking to improve, always looking to expand your knowledge and pass that on to other people. So tell me more about what you've been doing over the last year or so.
Nothing.
Lockdown.
We've been in lockdown, so there's not been a lot of opportunity to do very much. We've been teaching Zoom classes to my people, but not a lot of people want to do that kind of learning. And we get asked, can you teach a seminar by Zoom? And I'm like, well, no, because what I do has hands-on. You need a partner, and I need to be in a room to let you feel some of the things that we do, because otherwise you won't believe it. So what have I been doing over the last year? Not a lot. It's been very, very quiet. Before that, it was a wonderful time with going all over the continent teaching and having people come to us, and all sorts of wonderful things going on. But this past year has been absolutely awful from my perspective, because what I love doing is teaching and seeing light bulbs go on and people really enjoying what they're doing and making sense of some of the nonsense that they've been told previously. And right now, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to have people with you. So right now, very quiet. But when the restrictions are lifted very shortly, I look forward to being up and about and seeing people once again.
Fantastic. And I can't imagine what it's like to be, I mean, over here we haven't been locked away as badly as you lot. I can't imagine what it's like to just be not allowed out, not allowed to train and all that sort of stuff. But on the virtual kind of seminar, virtual kind of course. I know a few people who've actually been doing it. Admittedly, with what they do and what you do and what I do and things like that, there is a difference in terms of you've got to feel it. But you can get over some of the basic bunkai for them, I'm sure, and at least start them on that path, if you know, virtually, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we try our best, don't we? But simplest thing for that is you've got plenty of videos available. I've got plenty of videos available. Pick up some of them, and you'll see exactly what we'd teach in a seminar anyway. And I won't have the confusion of sitting here trying to get it across on screen where I can't grab you and go move your hand like that. So you know, it's available, it's there, but I can't do it with people holding a focus mitt and whacking it while they're holding it themselves and saying that's how you apply a move from a kata. You can't. I can't. Maybe some other people are really great and they can. I can't do it.
I'm not that great either. I can't.
I've got to have someone to work on and look at the reaction that occurs to someone's body and illustrate why that is the case. Talking to people on the screen is great, and if it's all you've got, then grab it with both hands. But I just look forward to putting hands on people again and training with people, because this is, from my point of view, soul destroying to try and teach something on the net.
I can't imagine. I mean, also, you know, it's only when you're hands-on that people truly understand the subtlety of a slight movement and the difference that tiny little movement can make to the effectiveness of what you're doing.
Well, absolutely. I'm the monkey, aren't I? I'm the one who comes to you and goes, "Do that again. Show me that again. How did you do that? I need to feel that." I'm the monkey who says that, and and people laugh about you know, the dimwit on the seminar who comes up and asks to be hurt again. I'm that guy. Go on, do that to me. I need to feel how that works. Otherwise, I won't understand it.
Well, that to me was the best way of learning as well. I mean, I was always the first one to go, yeah, I want to feel that. Do it again. Because when you feel it, you know a lot more than just by watching it. You know, it's the age-old thing, isn't it? You know, if you read something, if you see something, if you do something, if you feel something, you learn it so much quicker.
Yeah. So theory, wonderful, and then sometimes unbelievable until you feel it, and then when you feel it, yeah, lovely. Then you get the real understanding of it, and hopefully that's how we really pass things on.
Yeah, I mean, I've often been surprised, shocked, surprised, whichever way around, of people when they've suddenly got that light bulb moment, which has always been something that makes me smile, is when they go from not thinking something's going to work to going, oh no, that's going to cripple me if I do that properly.
Yeah, and then when you say that you've always got the guy who does the "but this could happen," and when you go, all right, but when I did that to you, at what point were you thinking of throwing your other hand? Because when I did that to you, your other hand went away and you stopped using it, or something like that. You know, but but what if he reaches round and
what if 50 of his friends just turned up? Yeah, but what if 51 of my friends turned up? How about that?
Yeah, always.
But those sort of questions, the what if guy, I just, the why guy can be great all the way through to the most annoying git. I mean,
yeah, I probably pushed it a bit over the years, didn't I? Why? But why? Tell me why.
my favourite answer to why is, if is this, that why is a great question. I mean, and as children we ask why all the time.
Yeah.
And we ask some great questions. Why? Like, why is the sky blue? Why is the sea blue? Why is grass green? And all of these sort of things. I mean, it's very rare we get a very good answer. But why? So why is a great question. I think it's something that should be asked a lot. But there are times when you have to just say, why does that work? Sometimes you have to say, because it does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And with every other bit of criteria being right. And so you play for the maximum amount of right. And then if something's not quite right, we'll still have a good time anyway.
Yeah. Because I found that there was an old thing I saw years and years ago from the physicist Richard Feynman, where he's explaining why. I'll do it very, very quickly. But if Mr. and Mrs. Smith go for a walk, Mrs. Smith slipped on the ice, broke legs, in hospital. Well, you know why she slipped. You know why she broke her ankle, and you know why she's in hospital. But if you were trying to explain that, if an alien asked you that question, why did she slip? You go, well, ice is slippery. Why is it slippery? Well, because blah, blah, blah. And then why did she break her hip? Well, because she fell over. And why did she fall over? Well, gravity. Why is there gravity? Why is she in hospital? Because that's where people go when they've got an injury. And so it goes on. So sometimes the amount of information that you've had to get to as to why that technique's working better, with all the different angles and all the different placements and body alignment, body mechanics, body physics, sometimes you have to say, because it does.
Yeah, agreed. So what's going on in your part of the world then?
We haven't had so many lockdowns as everywhere else. So I've been able to go to my boxing gym every day. So I've been doing that. And now at last, we're starting proper training next week for the national boxing team. So because of all the lockdowns, everything keeps just a day here and a day there rather than proper training. And at last, well, touch wood, we start on Monday morning. Monday morning now, which is whatever. It's the 20-something today. 26th, is it?
It could well be, yeah.
26th of March today while we're filming this. And there's a long story behind the filming. Thank you, John. And so it'll be next, which is Friday the 26th. So it'll be on Monday when it starts properly. We can actually get a proper training camp ready for the Asian Games.
Great stuff. Good luck.
Oh, thank you. So I've already been asked, when you were here before, when you were on before, we had quite a few questions. And there's a few questions from that we weren't able to fit in. And hopefully we can fit them in today, even though we lost some time because of my mess up on how this works. Thank you for helping again, John. But also what it was obviously it's very difficult for you to explain on this kind of format.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot.
Okay. But these sort of moves, right, when you come up here like the hand showdown type thing, peanut showdown. Obviously, I know you know, but can you give some people an idea of why these hands come up and why they go across and why they go back out and things like that?
Okay, so when
just be an explanation. I mean, I know you're in the dojo there, but you don't have to get up and do the whole move. But just to get people's mind thinking along the same sort of lines as you would normally do it for them in a seminar.
Sure. So when you used to travel around the UK on seminars, and I'd follow you and uki for you, and we would be in the changing room just before the seminar, and I'd say, "What do you think is going to be asked today?" And you had two answers all the time. You said if it's a room full of really high grades, they're going to ask what this is for, and if it's an all grades class, they're going to ask about this, right? And you were right every time. So when we're now explaining this to people, we say that there's layers to what we teach. And the first layer and the most obvious layer, because it's karate, is it hits them. So then you go, all right, so the shape I'm making is this. And in some clubs it's here, and in some clubs it's here. And we don't really care what way it is in your club, because it hits them. So then I've just got to work out what I'm hitting. So what's a really good target? Well, hang on, it's up quite high. It doesn't matter whether it's this way or this way. It hits them and it's quite high. So it's probably someone's head, isn't it? So then what's the other hand doing? Because it won't be up there doing nothing, and it's certainly not going to be that I'm looking after two different attacks from two different attackers. It's going to be one guy. So what's this one doing? Well, it's probably grabbing something or stopping something. So we'll just take it that there's a common kind of attack. What's the most common kind of attack in the world? Big right hook. Has to be. Now it might be a slapping movement, or it might be a punch, or it might be any kind of thing. It might just be that the guy's gone to grab. It could be two hands, it could be one, but whatever it is, it's coming at you. So, as Master Funakoshi said, there is no first attack in karate. Well, that means that there's some aggression coming from someone else. So I'm going to be receiving that aggression. There's the word uki. I'm performing an uki move. Doesn't mean I'm not going to hurt the guy with what I do. So he throws his attack. I'm going to stop him and hit him. That's why it can be this way, this way, this way. Targets then, as we go through the layers, you start to get more and more specific with the targets. And instead of just hit him, it's hit him where, and we can follow that. But taking it another way, you go after hitting, what's also the next layer of what it could do? Well, it could be grabbing, it could be grappling. So then you take it to that. What am I doing here that's grappling? Well, if I put something between these hands, then it's grappling. And I've got interior and exterior surfaces to what I'm doing. So if it's on the outside, it's the omote, it's the obvious. And if it's on the inside, it's the ura, or the back of the technique. So if I'm stood like that and there's something on the inside, what is it? Well, if you're not hitting something here, but you've got a head here, and it might be locked between these hands, or it might be in here that I've got him locked. And so I might be pulling an arm up here and the head's in here. But there's just so many different opportunities for what that shape can do, that all we've got to do is get into the situation and then use the shape, which is what kata means, isn't it? Kata is form. So I'm going to use the form to do something. So once you're up like that, if I've hit him, then what do I want to do? I want to hit him again. So if I'm hitting him again, I'm going to bring that one in, but I'm also going to pull something this way. And then what? So I could still be on his head, and if I'm changing the angle of his head, that's better than leaving a man stood up and trying to hit him and hit him and hit him again. I'm going to be pulling him in and hitting again in that fashion instead. And if I'm grappling, then I don't want to be just holding a pose and trying to move someone. I'm better off doing something that's mobile, because I stand more chance of taking his balance and taking his stability in that way. So what are you doing with this? Whatever you like, really. But what we want to do is show the layers to approach it at. So we'd start off saying you hit a head, and then you go, but it doesn't have to be a head, and I don't have to be stopping something with that arm. I could be stopping something with that arm and hitting him with that one. And then you go, well, okay, what if it's not his head that I'm hitting at all? What if it's an arm? So then you get into, am I on the inside or the outside? If I'm on the outside, I can do a great arm bar with that. And then we can go into a lock, and then we can go into a strike. But if I'm on the inside, then I'm going to need to do something a little bit different in order to use the same shape. Because what we want to look at is where we're programmed to throw that shape, no matter what the situation. So the old thing about you only need 1 or 2 kata, you don't need to know 70 kata, 100 kata, some styles have got now. You need to know 1 or 2 really well. And then you find the principles the same across kata anyway. So learning a new set of choreography might not be your thing. Some of us enjoy it. So we like a new bit of choreography and learning a new kata, but you're not going to find another way of doing shuto that wasn't already programmed into one of the kata where you already knew shuto. So unless you've got one that's got crazy new moves in it, then It's going to be the same set of moves performed in a different constellation.
So effectively what you're saying there, John, if I may be so bold, I don't want to put words into your mouth, is that most moves can be whatever you want them to be, depending on the situation. And that basically, once you understand the principles, you can apply it to every move in any kata, and it doesn't matter which one you're doing, and you can give an application for it.
Quite. That's it, we're done.
End of class, everybody. Thank you very much.
What I think is important is getting people to recognise that the situation can be different and your shape is going to fit into it anyway. Because otherwise, you've got to have on Thursday at 10, if there's one attacker and he chooses this attack, I've got to know the response to that. And it's not that, is it? It's the move that you've got, the move that's programmed into you, and being versatile with how you can use it. So the old argument about if you know this many things, you're going to get technique logjam, I put it completely the opposite and say, if you know that many things, something's going to come out when you practice, when you're in the situation that you practice for. So then we've got to use the kata in as many different places, whether it's stood up, right hook, left hook, uppercut, bear hug, and use that shape in as many different ways as we can, so that if that situation occurs, the kata that you have trained comes out. From a teacher's point of view, I've got to recognize what kata, and that's mental as well as physical, suits what kind of person. So I do need to have a broad overview of a number of different kata, because my thing might look a lot like doing Shotokan Sochin, no matter what I do. But that lady who comes to me, who is 1.5 foot shorter than me and a lot skinnier than me, is not going to have the same effect doing the same move. She's going to need something else, and I've got to know what that is. And we only do that by practicing a lot and finding out a lot.
And having that not only a deep level of understanding, which I know you have, but you also have a broad level of understanding of other katas, patterns, forms, styles, etc. So that when somebody comes along and says, yeah, well, we don't have it like that, we have it like that, or we have it like this, or we're slightly different, or whatever it may be, you can then adapt the application so it makes sense for the person from that particular style. I think I'm right.
Yeah, absolutely. Through me, the first time I did a seminar for a group, we perform this uki, we call it uchi-uki, and other people are going to call this uchi-uki. And then I get that, because that's terminology. And then when we train with a group, or I've taught a seminar for a group who perform it that way. And I was like, well, we don't do that, we do it that way. And it was a bit confusing to start with, until we recognized that their base, even though they were a karate group, was actually a judo instructor, and that what I would do like this, he would do like that, because he's not performing a forearm block, he's choking someone out. And you go, okay, so now I get why your kata looks a little bit different, but I realise what's happening.
Yeah. It's the same with these kind of moves, isn't it? Where you see a lot of this, and this, and things like this, where you've got like Jodanu, Sotu, with all those sort of things, where you've got these kind of crissy-crossy things, wherever they're happening, tend to be chokes and strangles.
Yeah.
Or one application rather is.
Yeah, holds, body control, because obviously you're going to have a hard job moving someone around if they're out there. But if they're in here, then it's a lot easier to move them about, isn't it? And you sometimes you need an overview of what goes on in other arts to pick it up. So I saw a grapple, but not labelled a grapple, in Muay Thai with the clinch, and we get stuck in, and the clinch has gone on, and then moving people around like this, and you go, oh, hang on. Hang on, that's my preparatory position for throwing down or throwing up. And you go, yeah, all right. So I needed to see it in a different light before I could understand it in my own context.
Yeah, and it's all about context, isn't it, with these moves? Because if you see a move out of context, so to speak, sometimes it's very difficult to imagine how it could be used. Like you mentioned earlier about where it's this way round, somebody who's obviously using it as a choke. It will throw a lot of people because they're used to doing it the other way. But once they understand the background of where it's come from, that it's a more grappling tight background, then these moves, you're going to start to think, well, maybe they're more grappling tight moves than striking. That's a new word, tight moves. And as long as you can understand that, and then apply that principle to every kata move, so that even this way round, whatever, you think, well, how could you use that grappling? How could you use it striking? How could you use it takedown? How could you use it blocking? How could you use it deflecting? There's so many ways. And I just want the people watching or listening to think about all these different ways of using these techniques, which is what you've been espousing for years and years and years, and up until recently, traveling around for years and years.
Well, yeah, people get a bit funny when you say you're going off to teach a seminar to a Wado group, and they say, well, you don't do Wado. Well, I do, because I do the Wado that was before Wado. But yeah, but you don't do Tang Soo-Do. So why are you teaching Tang Soo-Do people? Well, number one, because they ask and they're open-minded and willing to learn, and they're going to take what they like, and then I'm not a threat to them, because I'm not coming in and I'm saying you need to change your kata to this. I'm coming in and I'm saying you could use your kata like this if you want to. And if you don't, it's all right. We're still going to have a fun weekend doing what we're doing. But yeah, understanding that everyone's doing the same thing. We're just coming at it from different angles. And if all you've ever done is sport and relied on doing that to stop someone's punch, then you're going to have a very different frame of reference to someone who's looked at the many possibilities that it could perform.
And to me, once you understand that there's all these other possibilities, that's what truly makes the martial arts a lifetime study. But just learning to do a kata aesthetically, without any understanding of the moves from a combative point of view, isn't a lifetime study. A good dancer will learn those moves in a weekend.
Yep, you've proved it.
Yeah,
you tell a story a few times about dancers managing to pick up all the kata black belt in a 4-hour session. That if we are to take our martial arts as a lifetime study, because let's face it, if you're only interested in fighting, then you just need to learn a couple of things and get down to the fighting that you enjoy so much. Whereas if you're interested in your martial arts continuing and being something that you can get involved in going forwards, then it needs to have a bit more to it. So those of us who have been doing it for a good number of years, we've all found something in it to keep us going. Now, for some people, that's the kind of Zen mindset of I just go and I just do, which is nice. And then for some of us, it's show me more. Why? Give me the things that make this thing work, and why is it like that? And what happens if I do it like this? And okay, no, I learned a lesson there. I won't do it like that after all. So, and then you find out that you've got good friends in Aikido and Judo and everything else, because those people who have been around a long time have also got that mindset. Yeah, it's a good thing, isn't it? Isn't martial arts for life a good thing?
I think so. You know, I can't think of anything else I'd want to be doing all my life apart from living, right? And then, you know, you meet some fantastic people all around the world. You know, we're very fortunate that we've been able to do that, of course. But, you know, it comes with hard work behind it, absolutely. But the rewards are so massive in so much as you have a wonderful life, meeting the right people, training with people, not this last year, but it's amazing. And the knowledge that you can pick up and pass on, it's great.
I think so. What else would we do? People have said, you know, during lockdown, do you want to go and get a job? And I'm like, well, doing what? I've still got to be available for Zoom calls and things and running classes through Zoom. So what else am I going to do? This is it. I could have done better in lockdown. I could have written more, filmed more, but I really, really do need to have partners with people around to do this with.
We can always do more. We can always do better. And I think that's one of the things that in a way sets you apart, John, because it don't matter how much you do, you always think you could do more. You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah.
And I think that's a great attitude to have, because it means that you're determined, you know, I mean, not just you, I mean, people like you as well, determined to advance, to gain more knowledge and to pass that knowledge on and to help other people with everything. And that to me is so important and such a part of martial arts, that you can take that knowledge, pass it on to other people, and hopefully they will then pass it on to others. I mean, with all the video and stuff we've got now, we've got such amazing opportunities to not let things like Bunkai die, because it was in danger.
It really was. But there was you know, that pioneering period in the 90s when information started to appear with people like yourself, teaching across the country, magazines, running articles and the like. It was a guiding point, because now there's almost too much information out there, such that it's very difficult for people to pick what's going to be good. Whereas when it was through the magazines, there was an editor who was going, well, that's a piece of rubbish, I'm not running that, and that's a piece of good information, I'll get that out there. So, you know, there were historical articles and teachers that I praised for that, and then there was yourself and the things that were going on to spread proper applications, as we might call them, and the principles behind them, more importantly. So yeah, there was a period where things kind of got spread a lot, and now it's almost that there's too much information, because people are still instead of getting one book that everyone's read that has some rubbish in it, they're now able to see that rubbish duplicated 100 times by 100 different high profile teachers who are still out there talking nonsense. And you send me little videos of people going, why is this man allowed to teach this? We say, well, freedom of speech. You know, if I'm allowed to teach what I teach, then he's got to be allowed to do what he's got to do. But it just goes to show that there's still a need for some of us to still be out there. Because with the information superhighway and all the information that's out there now, there do come days where I go, well, I'm going to carry on practicing, but there's not really a need for me to keep putting stuff out there, because it's all out there now. There are no secrets. Everything's out there, and you can pick it up wherever you want. You know, there's the paid DVDs and downloads, but there's also so much free stuff available that people kind of expect it for free now. So yeah, go ahead. It's all out there. I don't need to do this anymore. And then I'll get a message about someone breaking their arm because their instructors had them blocking kicks with these, and you just go, no, we still need to say more. We still need for our information to go further, to be more out there. So we just keep putting it out in the hope that we managed to save a few broken fingers.
Well, in my view, John, seriously, in my view, you should keep putting the information out there until every single traditional martial arts school is teaching correct bunkai. That's simple, right? Because, I mean, I remember sending you some clips, and I remember saying, "Please tell this guy to stop. Please stop this guy," or something like that. I put on it, and we both know very well. We never mentioned any names, but I mean, we're talking about high-ranking people putting out absolute Boulder dash.
And he's very well respected and with a huge following. And he's recently switched associations to be with an association that's a bit more realistic. And you go, well, hang on, because that guy apparently still has some work to do. I mean, don't we all? But really, if you're going to put out videos that show that you block a punch and then step forwards and punch and then step back and block a third, how come the guy's still alive when you've run 3 techniques? Why is he still attacking you? If you've done the 3 techniques right, he's not attacking you anymore.
And it baffles me that people, quite high rank as well, look at that and go, fantastic, amazing, brilliant. I don't know how you worked it out. Pardon?
Yeah, why?
What? And it really is, to me, one of those sort of things. What? That's why I sent you those clips. I was just going, what is this?
Oh.
John, tell him to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. So we carry on. We carry on putting stuff out because it's still necessary. And it always amazes me that on my free channel, on the Bunkai Strategies channel, I'll often run the same technique year after year with a slightly different way of talking about it in the hope that I get it across to people. And every year, I'll always get a message from someone going, wow, I've never seen that before. And I go, but I've been doing this thing for 17 years of free videos, and there's over 300 free videos on my channel, and yet you've only just seen it. Why?
It never ever fails to amaze me. I had a funny one time. I was doing a Kata Bunkai 1 year ago, and I gave some people some ideas. I think it was from the opening bit of Take a Shoda, and I gave some people some ideas and principles to go away with. And I said, right, off you go, work it out for yourself. We've done loads of principles today, just like the last half hour or something. I said, off you go and work it out for yourself. And off I went. And there was one guy did a really nice application. I said, oh, that's a really good application. How did you come up with that? He said to me, it was on your video. I forgot I'd done it. It was just funny.
We all need a little help once in a while, and I remember being at a seminar at your place when you had the gym in Oakham, and I think we'd done the day doing joint locks, and then right at the very end of the day, you said, right, any questions? Is there anything that we haven't done that you want to cover? We've got 5 minutes, and everyone, of course, looks around sheepishly. So I go, I'm looking at MP at the minute. What does this do? And you just laughed. And you went, we just spent the whole day doing joint locks, and you're asking me what this does. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, no, I do still need obvious things pointing out. So thank you.
Same here. I've been teaching heavy hand, and I said, heavy hand, it can be heavy arm, heavy leg, heavy head, heavy shoulder, heavy leg, heavy knee, heavy kick, heavy MP, heavy whatever, right? Put it principle, use it on everything. A few weeks later, training with John Andrews, and he's putting loads of weight on me from Keza. And I said, John, like it hurts. But long story on that. How did you learn to put that much weight bearing on somebody? He said, it's called heavy body. I said, where'd you learn that? And he goes, a pressure point guy called Russell told me about heavy hand a few weeks ago. I said, apply it to everything. I went, yeah.
Yeah.
We all need reminding, John. We all need reminding.
Yeah. I saw a wonderful quote and someone had put up this wonderful piece about Teki Shodan. And then at the bottom of the quote, it had my name to it. And I went, where did you get that from? And they went, it's in your book, page 56. I went, oh, okay.
Did you write it?
Yeah, but it was a long time ago.
But I think it's funny that when you understand all the principles rather than just trying to remember techniques, you have this situation where you can just show stuff and make it up on the day, on the spot, because it's a different type of question or a different kind of audience. You might be more trikiny than graphony or vice versa. So your application is going to be geared towards the people present, whereas your book or video might have been geared towards somebody else at that particular moment in time.
Yeah.
And you've maybe forgotten that application or whatever because you've got so many of them, you just pick one out of 100. That then when somebody does it or reminds you of it, did I do that one? Yeah, it's happened to me quite a few times with different things, you know.
Yeah, it happens, and we're no longer the people we were when we wrote those things or when we filmed those things. And so sometimes we've got a better application now or a better way of explaining it, and sometimes we've forgotten.
Yeah, yeah. And I also find, and I'm sure you have, that you know, you can explain something in one way, and explain the same technique a different way, another way, another way, another way. And somebody may not understand the first 3 or 4 ways of it, the way you've explained it for whatever reason. But then all of a sudden, the next way of explaining it is a bang,
Yep.
light bulb moment, they've got it.
Yeah. In my classes, there was a guy a few years back, and he, at the end of class, I tend to do any questions, is there anything anyone needs to have? And he would ask me about this week after week. So we do an application and everyone practices it, and then we go home. And then the next week I go, is there anything anyone needs a hand with? And he'd ask me about this. And we'd do an application. And it was the same question week after week. And people would say to me after class, you know, don't you get fed up with it? He asks you the same question every week. I say, no, I don't get fed up with it. Because number one, I can't remember what we did last week, but I'm hoping that this week I'll do something that will get the message through.
When you truly understand it, it's not just the technique. That's the beauty of it. It's the principles, and this is something that we've been years and years and years, both of us, years and years and years, trying to get across to people. It's a principle, and apply the principle, and you've got more techniques than the technique guy. So many that you won't remember them, and live in proof.
Yeah. We try, don't we?
So when you're, like you said before about it evolving and things like that, and how we're not the same as we were before, absolutely true. Because I know you still keep training, learning, and wanting more and more information, getting more and more information, and building up your knowledge base and your abilities in all areas and passing it on. I know that. A lot of people get to a certain level and stop. And I think this is why a lot of stuff gets lost in the martial arts, is because people get to a level where they think they know enough, as opposed to, I never know enough.
Yeah.
I think
that's exactly the case. I mean, I'm Shotokan, and if you're in Shotokan and you've learned your 27 kata and you've sparred with as many people as you can find, and you know about the tactics that they're using, and then you've pretty much got the art, haven't you? I know Rob Redmond caused a big stir back with his 24 Fighting Chickens website from like 20 years ago, when he said it shouldn't take you a lifetime to master Shotokan. He said you can learn everything in 10 years, I think he said, in 10 years. And people were outraged because it's a lifetime study. And I kind of get where he's coming from. If all you take it is this technique, this bit of terminology, and that number of kata, then yeah, you can learn it in a very short time. So the people who have done
weekend, in fact.
Yeah, they've done that, and they've got it, and then they stop. and they might still be teaching, and they might still be gaining rank, but they're not actually going anywhere. And
Yeah,
you always said about repeating the same 10 years, 3-4 times. And we never want to do that. We always want to be moving on. We always want to be trying to gain more. So whether you look outside your own style or whether you look further into your own style, I think in the end those two things are the same. But we've got to, if we enjoy what we do, then we've got to keep looking into it. And I just got a point about that. Someone said to me about this lockdown and how bad things have been this year, and me moaning about not being able to go out and do things. When you reopen, will you still be doing karate, or will you go and do something else? And I was like, no. If you've got a painter, you don't say to the painter, are you fed up with that yet? Are you going to go and do something else? They're going to carry on painting. You don't say to a musician, are you fed up with playing music? Yeah, stop playing music. You've done that now. What? Hang on a minute. No, I do karate. So I'm going to keep doing karate. And hopefully I'll change in how I look at it. And I have changed in how I look at it. And long may that continue, because what do? I do karate. So there is no well, I'm fed up with that, I'll go and do something else. I'm not done.
You know, I can't imagine doing anything else. I mean, I just use the generic term of martial arts, and I include boxing in that because I just enjoy it so much. But to me, everything is about, just keep learning, keep expanding your knowledge base as best you possibly can. And I can't see any reason to change. I mean, to just, like you say, for somebody to go from being a painter to postman, or a musician to working behind a bar, it ain't going to work, is it? You got to, you got to do your passion, and then it's not work anyway, is it?
Quite. Well, that's it, isn't it? That's why we do what we do, because it's not work.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, work is a horrible four-letter word, isn't it?
Absolutely. Swearing.
Yeah. I mean, what people call work, work to us, it's not work. Learning, training, putting hundreds and thousands and thousands of hours, thousands and thousands of dollars, pounds of investment into your education isn't work. It's enjoyment.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And so coming out of lockdown, and some people won't come back, and you just go, well, you're missing out because we've still got more to do. And some people, I feel sorry in a way for the people who have left at a particular point. So, if you trained with me 10 years ago, then you haven't got what I've picked up in the last 10 years. And even if you're training with me now, you haven't got what I picked up in the last 10 years, because I'm still revealing stuff from 2004, 2005, which I now feel confident enough to do. I had one guy come to the dojo. We bring in teachers to teach things that I don't know. And he came to the dojo to teach kurarumfa, a kata from outside my style, because I fancied it. I wanted to learn it. So he's come in and he's taught the seminar, and he's looked at me at the end of the day and he's gone, well, you've got a pretty good grip on that now. He says, so I expect you'll be doing an application video on it shortly. Well, maybe one day, but first I'm going to get a good grip on it and examine it and look at the other alternative lineages and versions. So no, if you teach me something today, I'm not putting out a video on it tomorrow. I'm going to internalize it first. And that seminar was a good number of years ago. And there is a chance I might do one soon, because I've been playing with it and I might just have a grip on it now, or at least a better grip than some people. So I might well do that. soon, but it wasn't the day after the seminar. It's after I've been working on it, so that I can say that what I've done is mine and not. Yeah, people will say to me, are you doing a DVD on waveforms? I go, no, by Russell's. Why would you want mine? I can't teach it any better than what's already out there.
That's very kind, thank you. I know you can't teach it.
Well, silly, isn't it? Why would you want mine when they can have yours? So no.
Well, you notice all my Kata Bunkai has disappeared. I don't sell it anymore. I just took it off. There's no point. John's the man for Kata Bunkai. I just withdraw all of mine.
Well, and it's about where you're at now as well. If you don't want to be identified,
well, I find that there's no point in trying to what's the word? Do stuff that you're not really, yeah, like you say, you're not really doing that so much now. So when you've got somebody like you who's been doing it diligently and properly and correctly for so many years, what's the point of me having my stuff out there? Because yours is, well, it'll be miles better, wouldn't it? Because that stuff's from years and years ago.
yeah, it won't be miles better, but we took a slightly different route, didn't we? Because when I started doing mine, you'd release like the Heians on one video, which was brilliant, but you've got a very broad overview of 5 kata in one shot. So very, very deliberately, I then released them one at a time and have them build so that when you got a shuto that appears in Heian Shodan, I'm not repeating the same information when we do shuto in Heian Yondan. And I make it build up like that. So we just took a different path with it. You know, you put all 3 techies on one video, and and it's like that's great, but I've got so much more to do that we can put into that. So we made it one of each, and that, truthfully, that's still not done the job. That's still only part of the.
There's so much, isn't there, John? This is the thing. I mean, I remember putting on my tapes introductory level because,
yes,
well, I don't want people to think that this is everything.
Yeah.
And then years later, I saw people who we both have heard of bringing out Kata tapes, a not very good copy of those ones,
What you've done.
And they were advanced. You know, what?
Yeah.
And they became quite well known for Kata Bunkai.
They did. But yeah, that was your introductory level stuff, and yeah.
And I remember that same person booking me for a seminar and saying, "Can I video it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Any question?" He was always asking me, how do you do this move? What's this move for? How do you do this move? What do you do for that move? What do you do? Ones that weren't in the tapes.
Nice.
That came out on video not long after.
Well, maybe he internalizes stuff quicker than I do.
There you go. I mean, maybe it didn't. Maybe he didn't need to work on it for a few years and really make sure he got it absolutely right. Maybe he got it in a few minutes.
Maybe
it wasn't using.
Yeah, I'm a bit low on the uptake.
But things like that, I always find, in a way, it is quite flattering, really. But it just to me, it reinforces the fact that there's not that many instructors out there with the depth of knowledge that they should have when it comes to karate. I'm going to just say karate for now. Obviously, yeah. I mean many other areas, but that depth of knowledge that you have, for example. I mean, obviously, you don't expect everyone to have the same depth of knowledge, but you want them to at least be wanting to get there.
Yeah.
Rather than be saying, okay, I've got this grade, I'll just carry on. And to me, that lack of desire to increase your knowledge, I think it's a crying shame, especially when there's so much out there to learn. And to, you know, and it's not putting a white belt on again, it's just having a white belt attitude. So people listening out there, all you karate guys, taekwondo, all you traditional martial artists, if you're in the Youve, well, it doesn't matter where you are, virtual stuff, just buy John's bloody Bunkai stuff for you. Just get it, buy it, and educate yourself. you will never ever regret doing it. Just buy it. That's all I can say about it, really. That's what they've got to do, because it will take their education forward faster than they could possibly imagine.
Thank you.
That's my plug for you then, John. A shameless plug, but it's true.
And once they've got over all the basic stuff that I teach, they can get your stuff.
But it's one of those things where you can set people that light bulb, you know, once you see that go off, it's great, isn't it? Because you know they're going to set off on a path that truly can last them a lifetime if they want it to. And if they really are into their martial arts, they're going to enjoy it so much more and for so much longer.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one tape and just, I'm going to master that tape.
Apologies for harping on about the stuff that I've put out, but we get calls, someone who's a fourth Dan, and they call and say, which DVD should I start with? And I say, Keon. And I don't mean to be rude to them, but there's stuff that I put on there that they then need for when they come and have a look at Goju Shiosho. And if they just jump straight into Goju Shiosho, they're not necessarily going to get it, because the foundation stuff went in the early volumes. And so by the time we're flouncing around with advanced kata, we're showing some stuff which might not be entirely applicable if it's your first adventure into what we're doing here. They need to get that foundation in.
Well, I try to explain it like that to people. I say, look, you got to have the foundation, right? You're wanting to start with putting the roof on. We haven't even dug out the foundations yet. So let's start with digging out the foundations and get that sorted. Then you can start building up. The roof goes on a lot later. And it's so true, because people want to jump in at a level that they're not actually at.
Yeah.
And and then get frustrated when you don't let them be at that level.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. They say, well, I'm a fourth Dan. Why can't I be a black belt? I've seen that. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
You might have seen it before, but you can't do it.
And they haven't come at it from our angle, and so they need to review the way that angle was built up before they can go looking at the flash stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and to me as well, when you truly understand it, you can just say, just there's a kata. Spend a day on it, or as long as you want on it. Would like to, you can just say, give me as many moves as you want for that move, whatever. You just blast them all out. But for somebody else, they might need to take the time to truly analyze it and work it out. And that's fair enough. People need a bit longer, but they need to get at the stage where they don't have to hang around to give you an application.
Yes.
To my mind, anyway. You can just rattle them off. Well, that's because you understand your subject. If you understand your subject, you can rattle them off.
Yes. Yeah, it takes me longer to learn a new kata than it does to work out the applications on it.
Yeah. Well, me and trying to learn a kata, it's just not happening, is it? It's like, I can't remember one move after the next. I can tell you what it means, but I just can't remember which move goes next.
Exactly.
Never been any good at remembering things like that. I can tell you whatever you want, how many applications you want, doesn't matter.
Exactly. So you don't even need to learn the kata.
Yeah, to me, and I mean this in a different way. It's not that I actually mean this. You'll understand me. In a way, learning the kata is superfluous to requirements.
Yes.
Because if you truly understand all the principles that you're teaching, then you can understand all the moves in the kata, which would, in a way, make the kata not needed. However, you need the kata to make sure that you're going to understand the principles that contain blah, blah, blah. So there's that double-edged thing with it.
It's a circle.
Yeah. So yeah, and each one bites each other on the ass, as the old saying goes. So you have this thing, but it what makes people then switch off and go a different route is that they think that there's just one or two or three applications for each move or one technique or whatever, and they say, well, I only need one or two techniques from that kata and one or two from that one. All of a sudden, I've got loads of techniques, so I'm all right. And that's where it goes wrong, in my opinion. That you see so many people take that route, whereas they're denying themselves the opportunity to learn so much and so quickly if they just took the time to take the principles.
Yeah. The trouble with these chats is that I just agree with you too much. So I've not got a comeback on that because you're right.
All right, I'll argue with you then. But I mean, to my mind, teaching kata. Okay, let's argue on teaching kata. All right, we'll have an argument. Let's have a heated debate, John.
I'm ready.
Do you teach them the kata and then teach them some applications several years later? Or do you teach some moves in the kata, do some paired up work that contains applications and wait for the light bulb to go off?
Good question. And I think it varies, actually. I think there are times when you do just teach them a kata and let them get on with it. And then there are times where you set an example and let them work it out. And then there are times where you spoon feed and you teach the kata and this application and that application. What I would add is that if I do spoon feed someone, I'll also say, and there is more. So I would, if, for instance, we teach a lot of kids because we run a karate school, so there's a lot of kids about, and there's applications that I wouldn't necessarily teach kids, but I'll even tell kids there is more, and when you're older, ask me about it, and I will show you more, because I don't want them thinking like so many have that that's it, that whatever basic level they were shown was the end. So even when I'm teaching kids, I'll say, yeah, so there's the kata. You now know your way through the kata. Congratulations, and you know that everything we do hits something. So do every move like it's hitting something. That's great. And there is more. And I'm not going to show it to you. You're too young, but I'll show you later. And sometimes I do that with the adults, where I go, and you say you've learned that, but I want you to know there's more. And we haven't got time today, or it's not necessary for you to know that right now, but I want you to know that there's more, that we could carry on with this subject for a long time. So if someone does then choose to leave, they're not going away going, yeah, I learned that, I got all that, because they've been told quite plainly from day one that there is more.
Yeah. I mean, see, what I used to do with kata was I'd do a couple of moves, and then I'd either forget myself or say I'd forgotten the next moves, and then we'd do some paired up work. But I wouldn't tell them what it was. We just doing this now, doing that now, and just see if anybody came up to me and said, "We've just been doing that.
Yeah,
we did that in the kata." And I'll wait, and I think, well, that person over there has just said we've just been doing that. That one did, so they're seeing more already than people who are blindly not even noticing. Right? So then it was just my way, was then to, right, okay, so those people see more, maybe they're ready to get more. You tell people there's more, but if you can't see that we've just been doing it for the last hour and a half, it's the same move non-stop, and you can't work out that you just did it in a kata, then, because I wouldn't spoon feed as much as you. Well, you didn't ever need spoon feeding, did you? But to me, it was a case of, if somebody sees it, like you see, sort of go back 20 odd years, you see everything straight away. This is that. No, we just did that. We just did that. That was that. Blah blah blah. Then that's the person who's going to learn, isn't it? In my mind.
Yeah. And the joy of being able to walk around the room while people are working, and the guy who can't get his arms around the right way, he just needs to learn to get his arms around the right way. So he can get stuck with that. But the guys who are getting it, who are down the other end, then we're going to go up to them and we're going to go and just make sure that that bit is getting tucked in there, will you? And while you're doing it, you'll find it a lot more effective if you just twist your torso this way while you're doing it. And so we can help them on their level, while the guy who can't get his arms around the right way is still learning, yeah, this hand up, this hand down. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Later on.
And other things as well come into play, don't they? Like whether your hips are open, closed, whether they've got the rotational torque to them, where your shoulders are, where your feet are, where your knees are, where your balance is, all those other things that come into play that are just never mentioned when you're learning a kata. Not by excluding you out of this one. But you go to any club, they don't mention all that stuff.
No, quite. And often, even with kata performance, there's good enough to get the belt, and then there's really understanding the movement. So, I've got brown belt who's come from somewhere else, and when he's doing Heian Sandan, which you should know, I've got to go, yeah, but you should corkscrew your hip down into that stamp. It's not just lift your leg up and plonk it down. You've got to bring that up sharp and then drive down. And you find, why am I having to teach a brown belt how to do Heian Sandan? He should know that, shouldn't he? But he's come from a different club. And in that club, he was never told to torque his hips or to make the edge of the foot the break on the movement or anything like that. And you just go...
And that may not even have been his instructor's fault, because it may be that his instructor was never taught.
Quite.
So I always cut them the slack that, well, maybe he wasn't taught it, so won't say anything. But this, to me, again, is the inherent problem out there with a lot of martial arts, is that, again, that depth of knowledge and true understanding isn't there even on the most basic of moves. And let's face it, that is quite a basic move from a basic kata. It's the beginner's kata, really.
Hence my point, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've also got, how do you get across to someone who doesn't know what they're missing, that they're missing something? Because I was paid a great compliment back in the days of chat rooms. Someone said, best shot I can in the south of the country is at John Burke's dojo. That's a wonderful thing. But of course, someone else came back in and went, how? How is it better than what I get elsewhere? And you can't, how do I explain to someone what they're not getting at their club? Because then it's only ego and bragging, isn't it?
I am the best, honest. This is the problem, isn't it? Because it's not quantifiable. I had this chat the other week. Example, right? If you said, I'm great at bench press, so we say, well, how much do you bench press? And you go, 50 pounds. You're not great at bench press, are you, mate? Or you say, I'm a great 100-meter sprinter. You go, what's your best time? You go, 32 seconds. You're not a very good sprinter, are you, mate? It's quantifiable. When you say the best show I can, you can't measure it, can you? You can't say it's 10.1 seconds and I can bench 200 kilos. You know what I mean? You can't quantify it with things like that.
Yeah,
so that's what makes the problems in the martial arts.
Yeah.
And then you get situations where somebody just doesn't like what you're doing because their ego doesn't like the fact that they don't know as much as they thought they knew. So then they'll turn around and say, actually, the show I came down at John's isn't all that good, actually. I went there and I just did one lesson.
Rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, I had it with, I was chatting with Tony King, and there was a guy who did one catch wrestling lesson with somebody else who doesn't really do catch wrestling. Didn't like it, and then he was all over the internet saying how crap catch wrestling was because he tried it.
Yeah. Well,
And he had a voice on it.
we see that all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Karate rubbish. Karate
Yeah.
doesn't work, and karate's all full of robots. Yeah, karate people know nothing. Well, yeah, some.
Granted, you're right on some.
But then you'd say the same about catch wrestling. Some catch wrestling, they don't know what they're doing. Fair enough.
Yeah, some boxers, some kickboxers, some this, that, and the- there's always going to be good and bad everywhere, and you know, generalizations are whatever. But people need to really look at what they're doing, especially if they're in a traditional martial art, and then maybe at that stage where they're starting to think to themselves, "What am I doing here?" You know, especially around that sort of second, first cue stage, you tend to see a lot of people drift away.
Yeah.
And those are the sort of people I think that really need to get hold of your stuff because it will keep them hungry for the martial arts again. Because I think that's the time where people start to lose their appetite, so to speak. I've noticed a lot of people drop out at that stage.
And those guys who have been around for many, many years, and they're just starting to wonder why they're bothering. You know, so
Yeah.
your fourth dans and fifth dans who've got there through their strength, and maybe they're getting on a bit, and they realise that they're not going to be able to do so many high head kicks, and they want something else for their art.
Yeah, and I've also found, the opposite's true. A lot of them, they just get lost. I don't want to know what you're on about. Leave me alone. I don't want to be a beginner again. Okay, whatever. But it just makes me chuckle sometimes. But I mean, I remember going years ago now, I remember being invited to a seminar where we were going to learn what Basai Dai was all about. And it cost a lot of money, this seminar. 4 hours. We just kept going through Basai Dai non-stop, 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 non-stop. I was already doing bunkai stuff at the time. We're actually going to get onto the bunkai because I could help them out with this, right? And they this bit, I said, well, your hand was there. Now it's here.
And that was the big secret. Well, you consider
Imagine how annoyed I was.
Has he retired just recently?
I'm not sure if he's retired or not, but he looked really ill last time I saw him. But yeah, I was shocked, and that cost a lot of money. And I said, you could have just effing told me that one. Just move your hand down a couple of inches,
Yeah.
which wasn't met with any applause. Right. But to me, that shows then that a lot of the supposed high grades, their depth of knowledge isn't there. It's just a time served thing. And some of them remain there because they're getting money out of it. Some remain there because they actually do still love their martial arts. Various reasons, that each reason is their own. But it's that false sort of, we've got the knowledge and you will get it. We've got the knowledge, you will get it. When? Oh, you will?
So I keep thinking it was only last year, but it wasn't. It was actually about 4 years ago. I got a little bit nostalgic, and I went on a course with an instructor that I used to train with 25 years ago. and I had a great time because I was there in the black belt section and we're doing all the crazy combinations, and it was a nice morning. And then there was a lunch break, and for the afternoon we were going to be doing kata. And so he lined up the instructors out the front and he went, if you want to do Kankudai, you go with this guy. If you want to go with Jion, you go with this guy. And I'd had a nice sweaty morning, and I did not fancy doing Kankudai for the next 2 hours. I thought that would perhaps be more work than I fancied. And if you want to go and do Chinte, you go with this guy. I thought, not many jumps in Chinte. I'll go and have a go at that for a little while. So I went over and did Chinte with this instructor. And like you say, there were changes in the performance from what I'd learned 20 years ago. It now wasn't like this, it was like this. That's all right, it was their association, they can do what they like, obviously. So I'll follow along and have some fun. And so I'm doing Chinte their way. And then after a bit, they went, okay, let's have a look at the applications. I went, great stuff, this is going to be good. And I thought, oh no, it's not going to be good, is it? It's going to be awful because it's Chinte. And the guy started out and he went, now some of you may have heard that when the kata starts like this, and you do this, that this is blocking a punch from someone coming in from the side. He said, that's not true. And I went, oh, is this going to be more interesting? He went, no. The person is actually at a 45-degree angle. And then you go out like this and you block their punch. So your big secret is that this move, which you didn't need to block because the punch was too far away, isn't over there, it's actually over there. And you still don't need to block it because the guy can't reach you anyway. That was your big secret, was it? But I was laughing, but trying not to because it's their seminar, right? So so we let that go on for a bit, and then he goes, right, so now we're going to break you up and put you in groups. And in your groups, you have to work out what this sequence is all about. And there was me and another old boy, and then a couple of youngsters, and there was a girl who was taking a downgrading that day. And this was her kata. And so once we knew that, I'd shut up and let her do the talking because she's got to explain it to the examiners later that afternoon. So they went through some stuff and sort of nod along and carry on. And after a bit, she turns around and she goes, what do you think? And I went, well, can I just show you this? She was like, blows my mind. How is that? And I went, well, does it make sense? Does this make more sense? Is this what you'd like? Yeah. Which teacher did you get that from? So well, I got that from Russell Stutely. She went, is he Japanese? I went, well, no.
And gives it away.
And she went, oh, I can't use that then. And it was like, why are we bothering? But I had a nice day.
Yeah, I mean, days like that are great fun, aren't they? They are great fun. You gotta, but it goes to show that there's a level of, I'm going to call it brainwashing in a lot of the martial arts, that it can only be if it's come from this lineage. That's the only way we will ever listen to it and accept it. I mean, I've lost count of people who have come to us, 20, 30 years experience, and they can hit, let's say X power. 20 minutes later, they're hitting at 2X, 3X, whatever. And then they start questioning you, and they go, oh yeah, but, well, I'm not so. Hold on. You've just done 25 years with so-and-so. You've never questioned them once. You've been here 20 minutes. You've doubled your power. You're hitting fast, and now you're moaning.
Yeah. And they thought that what we were doing was brilliant while they thought it came from a Japanese teacher. And then the second they find out it didn't, then and without trying to cause a storm, that is racism.
Yeah. But you know, you just have to just go carry on, whatever.
Yeah.
But I always, when I say where did it come from, I either say something like, I just made it up, or I'll say, no, it goes back to like the 1200s. Or I'll come out with some other made up baloney or something like that, because it makes them feel better. So that's what I do. I mean, I even came up with an absolute codswallop BS story to somebody who knew my own background. And he was that enthralled with the way I was telling this story, he was listening. And after I'd finished the story, he went, Ross, I knew you went through all that as well. And it was a ridiculous story I was making up as I went along about where the cat came from. I said I went on holiday for 2 weeks to, I think it was the Canary Islands. I said, and I lost all my money, blah, blah, blah. So I started working in a Chinese restaurant, washing dishes. I couldn't afford it. I said, I was there for a week, and then it ended up with 6 years washing dishes. I said, and then they put me on drying and putting away. I said, and that's where I got this move from, and this move, and then coming into here like this, and this move, we're putting the plates in. I said, and then the swing doors to go in, I said, they let me set the tables up. I said, that's where I got the coming through this way and coming through that way, going through the swing doors, and then evading like that and like that. And there's somebody else coming in as you're going out. I said, then putting the plates down on the table, this is where I got this move from and this move there and blah, 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 and how to handle weapons with the knives and forks. And he's like this. And I said, and it started off with a Chinese guy in the garden who was doing some Tai Chi. I said, I was watching him. So I watched him for about 8 years before I plucked up the courage to speak to him. And so he made me watch for another 4 years before he'd even let me go and work in the restaurant. People were believing it. And I'm thinking, I can't even make this even more stupid. And I still couldn't wait for people. But because it was that sort of lineage type thing, it's amazing. People just took it in, hook, line, and sinker. Unbelievable.
Well, at least you didn't show a picture from a Japanese banknote and say that was your teacher.
Should have done that. But here's another one though. I can mention it now. I think I won't mention their names, but somebody was talking about two particular Japanese instructors, saying, you know, blah blah blah. They know all this. Yada yada yada. They must know this. They must know that. I said they don't actually. What? And they're all shocked. How do you know they don't? Because I used to teach them. And that silence that followed then, the silence that followed back then.
Nice.
And it was quite amusing to have that as a, because it tends to stop the conversation. Like, you know, how do you know that's true? Well, I taught them.
Yeah, I never taught them that.
Yeah. They go, and one of them, which is years and years ago now, I'd not long, I think I'd only had my tapes out, the tapes you talked about earlier, Hayans and Techies and Bassa. Not long been, I think they'd have been out in a year or two or something like that. Me and this Japanese are teaching, I stayed at my mate's house, and I gave this guy me tapes. And he nicked all the seminar money and gambled it all away. It was a Friday, a couple of hours on the Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So yeah, I didn't know that he'd been given the seminar money on the Friday. It was supposed to be between us. He stayed at my mate's house. He's gone out Friday night, got slaughtered drunk, gambled all this money away. In the morning, he's just hung over to crap, telling everybody they should go running and, you know, no smoking, no drinking. He's puffing away on cigars, absolutely smashed out of his head on whiskey and stuff like that. Telling him all these stories, and I'm going. Anyway, And then on the Saturday night, I wasn't sort of like trying to say, where is it? I said, when are they going to pay for the seminar? Is it tomorrow? And my mate said, no, they paid him yesterday. Oh, right. Where's my bit then? Right. Then I found out he spunked it all. So I was supposed to be teaching all day on the Sunday. So I'm teaching bunkai, right? He sat behind me on the stage. I'd show a move, and they're all high grades. They're all like 3rd to 7th. They all look at matey before they'll do what I've shown them to do. And he sort of like nods sagely to say, yes, that's all right, carry on, that's what I've shown him. And I've been teaching him it. Right? Because he was hungover from another lot of drinking he'd done. So he sat on this stool, nodding. Right, yeah, that's right. Every time I showed something, they look at him. This went on. And then if he had gone out for a pee or something like that and I showed something, they'd ask me, well, how do we know that's right? Pointing backwards, oh, well, that's all right then. Right? So then, I'm there, we had a break, a cup of tea time, and he's, waste of space. But he started to annoy me now. So I thought myself, my mate said, can you teach the rest of the day as well? Because Sensei doesn't feel up to it. All right. I said, what else? What do you want? He said, can you do more bunkai? Because they're actually enjoying it. I said, yeah, all right. And he said to me, remember to look back at Sensei so that they know,
it's official
from him.
Yeah.
It's not from him, is it? You don't know it. No, just please for me. I go, all right. So another 2.5 hours of this, right? So I'm doing it about hour and a half, hour and 3/4 in, and they're still going. Look behind, he's nodding sagely. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Right. He wouldn't get off this stool. And so I said, all right, this last hour, I said, Sensei told me, all right, to ask you lot, any move you want from any of your katas, and we'll give you some applications for it. So what moves have you got? So hands go up, a few moves come out. I'll show a few like that, blah, 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 blah. I said, right, now the last half hour, I said, it's only high grade stuff now. I said, it's got to be high grade applications. So give me a move and then you get the answer. They all go, oh yeah, what's this move for? What's that move for? What's that? Hold on, one at a time. I said, we're honored now. I said, because it's not me showing you, Sensei's gonna do it. I just walked off to the side and let him do it.
That's it. Put him on the spot.
Of course, he didn't have a clue what to do. And then my mate's been called over, and blah, 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 and my mate's come over to me. I can't mention any of the names, it's not fair. He said, please, just tell them that you made a mistake and it is you that, just for my mate. So I said, oh, my mistake, since he said that I'm allowed to show you it. Oh, I said, it's an honour, an absolute honour. An honour and a privilege.
Absolutely. You count yourself lucky to be in his presence.
Yeah. And then afterwards, we've gone for a cup of tea. The instructor sat down and turned his back on me, which is a bit of an insult,
Yeah.
So I said, oh, I've had enough of this. Obviously, I'm not coming back, right? So I said, you need to turn around. I said, if you're insulting somebody, at least have the balls to insult them to their face.
And they've got nothing.
But that then, to me, that was one of my last forays into bunkai with organisations and higher level. I just can't be doing with all this. I'd rather just have some fun, But it proved to me that, and I know they still don't know it because they're still doing
the rubbish.
Yeah. And and he nicked the seminar money, nicked me videos. There you go. It was amusing though. Looking back at the time, I was starting to get a bit annoyed, but oh well. Yeah. Weekend away, the people were very nice. All the people there were very nice, and they have no idea what happened. My mate did, but they split up not long after that. He'd been a long time personal student.
Yeah.
And he got a bit fed up with it all. But sorry to bore you with a long story like that of mine, but this is John's show. It just, to me, it just goes to show that there's a lot of that sort of attitude out there that we just don't bother with. We're just not like that. I know you're certain, it's just, here's the info, blah blah blah. Get on with it, have fun with it, enjoy it, try it. That's what it's all about.
It's good and it's testable, and we can see it and feel it, and it works. Why are you worried about where it comes from?
Yeah, and why do you feel the need to validate, so to speak? Because it's not valid. If it works, it's valid. Where it comes from isn't the validity of it. It doesn't work. It's the validity of it, and that's why I say to people, they've got to get your stuff because it's there. Just buy the video DVDs now. So I keep saying videos, but buy the DVDs, and then they can validate it for themselves because they'll be training it, learning it, and making it work themselves. They don't need a validation of lineage. And to my mind, that's only brought up anyway to try and make themselves feel good, and to give them an air of superiority. They can say, well, my lineage actually is from this master through that master. Therefore, what I say must hold more credence than what used to.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes down to it, it's whether they can do it themselves, not whether their teacher could.
Yeah, does it work? Yes or no? Quite simple, really. But this is why I think the beauty of your bunkai is that it just works. It just works. I make no, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty certain you'll agree. Make no excuse for the fact that it's a learned skill. You've got to actually train it and learn it properly. Then you can do it. You can't just do it second one.
No, quite. Some of the things we do are against people's natural instincts, and so you do have to train that to be part of you. Very, very quick example, simple example. Someone comes in and grabs you around the throat, and your natural instinct is to grab those hands and try and pull them apart, which is against the law of nature, really, because the other guy's pulling into the center, and you're trying to pull apart where you're weaker, he's stronger, and you're onto a hide into nothing. So your natural instinct is wrong, and we know that the easiest way of getting out of it is like that. And people go, well, you can't do that. Yeah, you can, because I just showed you that you could, and I can teach an 8-year-old girl to do it, and everyone can do it, and that way it's not just reliant upon the fact that I'm huge and you're not. But it does go against your natural instinct. So
yes, but again, it's knowing, understanding body physics, body dynamics, body mechanics.
Yeah.
When you're understanding that and balance and all the other things that we understand and teach, then people will know what they can do against those sort of things without worrying.
Yeah.
But it's that, like you say, that going against what their natural thing is to try and pull something away, which often is not the right way of doing it. It's like grabs on arms and things like that. You're trying to pull against something rather than go with and go past and under or whatever, which doesn't seem right.
Or worse, you've read a defense book that says you bring your arms up into the middle and force their arms apart.
Yeah.
And I just go, I get a woman to grab me, and if I can't move her, how is she going to move me?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like you say, it's a false economy.
Yeah. I mean, John, we've actually gone way over time. My fault.
Gonna do a bit of
My fault.
editing.
Sorry. Half of the time was me messing up, I suppose, and me waffling on. John, I want to say thank you so much for being on and for all your help. And please, everybody, if you're a martial artist, and even if you're not a martial artist, buy John's, I'm not going to say video, buy John's DVDs, and they can get them from where, John?
Bunkai.co.uk.
Bunkai.co.uk, and we'll, when this goes on YouTube, we'll put a link on there as well, and a link in the description so they can go and buy it. That's the way to do it, isn't it?
Subscribe.
John,
Free news.
thank you so much appreciated. Thank you, and great to speak to you again, and hopefully you'll come on again soon.
Thank you for having me. Happy to chat whenever you want, and go on and on and on.
Great stuff. Thanks again, John. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening, guys and gals. Remember to tell everyone to join in next time to the Old Fat Coach.